I was invited to take part in a clay showdown, and I definitely don't think I won. Mistakes were made. An abomination was created. Fun was had by all. Hello, and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. This is the Great Clay Showdown Part 2, Witches and Wizards theme. If you're confused because you didn't see Part 1, I didn't participate, but some of my collaborators did, so you can definitely go check that out. Today's video is a collaboration with Darkest Raven Designs, Aurora's Art World, Weblight Dreams, and Jen's Creative Creations. Some of those ladies do clay on a more regular basis than I do. They even have real polymer clay. Imagine that. I had a bunch of leftover air dry clay from an AliExpress haul I did a little over a year ago, and I figured, sure, let's do this. Let's see what sort of minimally detailed chibi character I can create and use up the unopened packets of clay. So I sat down at my desk, pulled out some floral wires, some pliers, and a few other things, and set about making a wire base frame to slap some clay onto. In hindsight, I'm so glad I couldn't find the pipe cleaners I wanted to use for the frame. You'll see why in a minute. Since our theme is witches and wizards, and I was planning on a chibi character since I didn't expect to achieve much detail in air dry clay, my plan was to make a generic little witch girl in a hat and robe with a chunky scarf, paint the scarf Gryffindor colors, and pretend it's Hermione. After much struggling, I finished my wire base, complete with pom-pom head. My plan was to use the pom-pom as filler so I didn't have to use as much clay for the head, but if that didn't work, at least it helped get the shape for the head support wire. Now it was time to open up a pack of air dry clay and get working. But remember how I said that clay was from an AliExpress haul over a year ago? Yeah. Apparently the little resealable bags are just as cheap as their clay. Every last packet, used or unused, was already dry. Crap. After a moment of panic, I started Googling homemade clay recipes and finally found one that wouldn't use up all the baking soda left in my pantry. Why do so many of these recipes want multiple cups of baking soda? Well, I found one that uses salt and cornstarch, and cornstarch I have in abundance. Apparently I don't bake with that much. I'm honestly a little concerned about how old my box of cornstarch is. Maybe I should get a fresh box for actual baking. But we're not eating clay, so in case anyone's curious, this clay stinks. The way I described it while I was laughing about it in the group chat with my collaborators is wet dryer lint left out in the sun on a hot day. It's super sticky, started resisting being shaped and formed very quickly, but didn't dry quickly by any means. I ended up using pieces of the air dry clay as filler and slapped the homemade clay on around it. It didn't stick to the head pom-pom, so that had to go. As I already mentioned, though, at least I had the large rounded wire for the head. I was able to use it as a spike and skewer the head and hat pieces onto it.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Whoops, wrong franchise. Once it dried, I used nail files to try and smooth it down. I was concerned about the clay crumbling once it truly dried completely. At this point it was still a little squishy, but it had a good firm crust, so I coated it with basic white school glue. I was also hoping this would provide a smoother surface for painting. It didn't, but that's okay. More smoothing with the nail files and a couple coats of white paint as a base layer. Ta-da! Time for painting. By the way, if you haven't checked out the other ladies in this collab, make sure you do that after this. They all have excellent channels, and I bet they all made beautiful witches and wizards. I'll be sure to have everyone linked in the description and in the pinned comment. I wasn't trying to make nearly headless Nick, but that may be the direction we have to go with it.
Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?
Like this.
Note how wet and crumbly the clay is inside the head still. It's been 6 days. I think this is going to take months, maybe even years before it's actually dry, especially since there's very little surface area not sealed now. This clay recipe is intended for flat cookie cutter ornaments, not sculptures. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Actually, this made it easier to paint after some minor patchwork. Excuse my apparent inability to keep my painting consistently in frame, and enjoy the head on a paint bottle that occasionally gains more detail. Bonus points if you catch the moment when the paint bottle changes. Excuse me while I hold poor Hermione upside down while the glue in her head dries. And here we are. It's so ugly it's adorable. Presenting Hermione Granger. She's seen some things, it would seem. I'm deeply sorry, Hermione. If I'm the last of the Clay Showdown videos you're watching and you need something else to watch now, I've got some suggestions up on the left side of the screen. Do go check out everyone else though, if you haven't already. I upload art content twice a week at minimum, every Tuesday and Thursday, and usually it's more of a two-dimensional variety. If you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Come back on Tuesday for another great collab. Bye guys!